Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I come to the floor today to express my support for the approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. This is bipartisan legislation. The House passed this bill with 31 Democrats voting for it. Last week, Senate Republicans welcomed the news that the outgoing Senate Majority Leader had finally decided to let the Senate vote on this legislation, and the vote is finally going to take place today. For years, House and Senate Republicans have been pushing legislation to approve the Keystone XL pipeline. But until now, the outgoing Senate Majority Leader wouldn't even let the Senate vote on this measure. And it was all part of the Majority Leader's efforts to protect the President and the President's agenda. The Majority Leader had hoped that the American people would forget about the Senate. He had hoped that they'd be satisfied with President Obama's job approval. Well, 2 weeks ago, the American people made it clear that they have not forgotten about the Senate. The American people made it clear that they are not satisfied with President Obama and his policies. Instead, the American people want the President to work with the Senate to enact bipartisan legislation to grow our economy and to create jobs. Now, President Obama and Senate Democrats can do that today by supporting the bill that we're approaching to approve the Keystone XL pipeline. This pipeline is going to create thousands of jobs right here at home. It's not just my view, it's the view of the President's own State Department. According to the State Department, the construction of the Keystone XL pipeline would support over 42,000 jobs. 42,000 jobs. Now, that's the reason why many of the nation's largest labor unions support the construction and approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. In addition, the pipeline will facilitate American crude oil production. Specifically, this pipeline will ship up to 100,000 barrels of oil each and every day from North Dakota and Montana. Currently, there's insufficient pipeline capacity to ship oil out of North Dakota. As a consequence, oil producers must rely on railroads to ship oil out of state. Now, shipping crude oil by rail is more expensive than shipping it by pipeline. The Keystone XL pipeline would provide oil producers a cheaper shipping method and, in turn, encourage production of more American energy. This pipeline will also increase our nation's energy security. Specifically, the pipeline will provide additional access to Canadian oil. Now, we should welcome access to Canadian oil. Canadian oil is a far better alternative to oil from Venezuela, the Middle East, or West Africa, areas of the world which don't share our values and too often work against our American interests. In contrast, Canada is a strong ally. Canada is America's top trading partner, and Canada already provides the United States with reliable and secure sources of energy. Now is the time for President Obama to make a decision on the Keystone XL pipeline. As the senior senator from Delaware, a member of the President's own party, said last week, we have waited not just months, but years for a decision on Keystone. He said this is too long. In fact, the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline has been pending for over 6 years. During this time, the State Department has conducted 5 environmental reviews of the project. Each of the reviews has been positive. Now, I say to President Obama, time is up, and the excuses have run out. It is time for you, Mr. President, to make a decision. President Obama should once again acknowledge that elections have consequences. Specifically, he should signal to the American people that he has heard the message that voters across this country sent just 2 weeks ago. Their message of support for bipartisan legislation that grows our economy, that creates jobs, that puts people back to work. Their message of support for legislation like the approval of the Keystone XL pipeline. Thank you, Madam President. I yield the floor.